Alright, I'm recovering the Army of the Cumberland. I forgot to do that at the end of the turn. And that should be it for recoveries on the board. I got an alert marker. And notice a couple of locations in Kansas got burnt. Extra Confederate points at the end, burning Far West commands for that. Here's what our allocation was. Both sides went first in the West and second in the East. And the points didn't work out. And the Union got kind of worse points, 4-3, 2-1. The Confederates got a 6-4, 1-2, which is one of the better ones. A lot of leaders on the board, mostly not new ones from this turn. Confederates have the Arkansas. They can rebuild their defense of Memphis a little bit, make it harder to take that. Situation on the board right now just looks so ugly. The Confederates probably won't be able to afford to launch an attack on Washington. Doing so and failing might invite losing the entire eastern seaboard, essentially. Just because they could get trapped without a possible retreat because of the ironclad here. They would have to kind of slip by through the back here. The Army could catch them and drive them into there. I've seen that happen. That is not a pretty situation. You never want to get in that position with the Confederates, which is one reason why you don't want to do the kind of adventurism that Lee actually engaged in. Not that that was dangerous, but what would have been possible had he pushed through in the Gettysburg campaign and actually threatened Maryland. That would have been a very risky thing in this game in terms of being able to get out of there safely. Elsewhere, Lee is off facing Thomas down here near Kentucky. Thomas has no chance, but it does mean McDowell is free to act over here. Whatever that means, I don't know. We got the armies up here. Burnsides and Van Dorn still facing off. Not a lot of points to operate there. A lot of those western points. I don't know what to allocate to next turn, though. For the Union, you kind of got to keep pouring points into the west to get anything done. But with Lee there, with only one army, I'm not sure I can really break away from him. So part of me is tempted with the Union to just say, let me see if I can break that Confederate line in the east. Because if I can and keep pushing down, that's going to start causing problems. That'll be sort of maybe the price to pay for putting Lee in the west. But Lee is so valuable in the west. Those counter marches you saw, you couldn't do that with a 3-point leader. You wouldn't have enough command points and you wouldn't have enough opportunities to go. Elsewhere, shit, I don't know. I gotta get the Cumberland Army out of there, can I? I got enough command points to get it across the river, but that may mean bad things happening in Missouri. This is looking so hopeless for the Union. Alright, turn 6 more or less opens up with a big roll in the Union's side of things, 6-point roll. They used it to fortify Bowling Green, I believe. And yeah, you can see that didn't work. And to bring McDowell's Army of the Cumberland over and attack Memphis. That worked pretty well, actually. He demoralized Memphis. But Lee managed to jump into Bowling Green before that could get any stronger and knock Thomas out of there. For Memphis, I'm getting sick of having Polk at an important location, so I dispatched Pemberton to take command there, and that made it easier to rally the force as well. Mainly a lot of piddling stuff, reinforcements, new leaders, etc. One exciting thing for the Union, well, first of all, Sherman got his promotion to 2 stars, which means he's a lot less likely to just die. Although, as we saw with Grant, these guys the 2-star leaders are vulnerable too. Been drawing leaders for McDowell's army. Try to improve the command ratio there. We see built another ironclad just to prevent the possibility of combined action. It's kind of weird though, because truly combined actions don't seem all that necessary, but anyway, Nathaniel Lyons showed up here and with his third star, and that actually outranks McDowell. He's been given sort of the fast track promotion there, and he's now we have a decent leader in the West. That might change things a good deal. I decided to throw a little bit of an Easter egg in. Sneak peek at something that probably will be my next bigger than this, I think, but maybe not, project, which is I'm hoping to do the combined campaign for that, and I've really been looking forward to taking a look at some of the Red Sash stuff. Unfortunately, if I like it, it's going to cost a fortune, but oh well. Big 7-point swing this time for the Confederates. Now, what did I do with all that? One thing I did was Lee went and chased Thomas some more. Smacked down half his force, another D3 on him. Lee took no damage. This is some leader placement, and let's see. Ended up fortifying more along the Potomac there. Now, the Union recovered Thomas. I had enough points there I could have launched this dual attack on Memphis, but to tell you the truth, I'm not sure how happy I am with that concept. With only one army operating, I feel like I have to go deal with Lee. But McDowell may not be capable of handling him, so I've got kind of this paralysis going on over here in the West, which is where I really wanted to focus, but instead what I did was I spent 2 of the commands to move McClellan over to try that peninsular campaign. I'm going to try to march through good old Magruder here. Got a big force. Porter is only a 2 activation. But between that and the 3 for Thomas, I've used up most of my points, so the rest, the big points for the swing, so the rest of them I used with the Comanche. I felt like, you know, I don't know. Thomas is probably wiped out anyway here. That's the problem. Why restore him? I don't know. And if I didn't do that, then I wouldn't have done this, and I would have conducted this naval combined operation here. But had I done that, it probably would have gone very badly for McDowell as well. There's a lot of troops beginning to pile up here. This is... I've never seen a game go this way. I've seen the Confederates win a lot of games. I've seen the Union pull off a couple of victories as I got more and more used to the game. This one is really bizarre in my view, and I'm not even quite sure where I sort of lost it. Big 7-point activation this time in favor of the Union. Right after another CP table roll, more CPs allocated. The Union pushes forward, drives Magruder out of his defenses here near Richmond, which forces Johnston to abandon his line. Now, he's still left a strength point in each hex, but he's pulled down to help cover this area. If he has a cav leader, he's got a pretty good chance of intercepting. We also saw the new general here, Lyons. Red stripe is indicating that he's optional. Marched against the fort with support from Foote. Foote, between them, they destroyed another Confederate ironclad, the Arkansas this time, I think. Yeah. And as well, they also did more damage than they took. I got a good leader now in the West, finally. I managed to get Sherman some battle experience on that Peninsula campaign, so he's now going into the pool. And that puts me in close to the historical situation. Yeah, I don't have 2, 4-star generals, but Lyon's pretty decent rank-wise. He's still trumped by people like McClellan and Fremont that I'll really have to get rid of. I can't just subordinate him. I've got McDowell in my army. He doesn't help me. He's actually hurting me. And the Confederates, of course, had Pemberton facing him. See how it goes. I forgot to mention, Union managed to burn Fort Leavenworth too. A little bit more action. Lions hit. Sorry, he hit with foot again at Memphis. You can see Memphis is demoralized. Lion was demoralized as well, but he's been able to recover. That recovery, though, came at the price of Lee moving through Kentucky. Now, Lee's a real danger to him. It's the only thing that can really save Memphis at this point. The repeated strikes, they are going to knock it down, and they're causing more damage, even with the fortifications, etc. there, than the Union is taking. Let's talk just a tiny bit about the Peninsula Campaign. It's kind of a frozen situation. Johnston's down here, McClellan's here. There's one thing that can fix this: creating the Army of the James up in Washington. I've got Curtis there who can do it. I haven't gotten the activations to start doing that. I could have started here, but I wanted to try to recuperate Lyon's troops. But the Army of the James will be able to clear these entrenchments. And that will be the main success of the Peninsula Campaign, is proving that these don't do anything, essentially. For the Union, Curtis continues busting up the Potomac line. But then over here, Van Dorn has hit Burnside's and was quite successful. He was disorganized, but he managed to rally. We had a lot of points over there. Right now, there aren't a lot of points left. The Confederates just have one in the reinforcement in the Trans-Mississippi, a Trans-Mississippi command point, and a bunch of far west points that they can play out as the game goes. But they're not terribly useful to them. They have a long way to go, and not a lot left they can burn over in Kansas. Of course, they can bring civilized Indians into play for whatever they're worth. The Union has a decent amount in the Trans-Mississippi, which they might be able to turn into something. Otherwise, they don't have a lot of command points left. They have a lot of reinforcement points that they haven't been allocating. Which, as long as no more CPs come up, that should help Lyon. He can build up his Army of the Cumberland to face Lee. And we made it most of the way through the turn before it ended. Just a few command points that I didn't know what to do with the Union. They spent all their far west ones trying to convert some of the natives. They can't really do much with them this turn. There's an alert and a Texas Ranger here. That's just too dangerous, so they were more interested in preventing their last couple of locations from falling. What's the assessment on this turn? Well, next turn's going to be big, I think. We've got interesting activity going on up here in the Trans-Mississippi with Burnsides and Van Dorn kind of facing each other off, both barely in supply. Down here, Lee and Lyon facing each other off near Memphis. And there isn't anything really to distract Lee there. So the Army of the Cumberland, well, it's trying to build up, but that's going to be kind of a big battle. Now over here in the east is where it's interesting, because McClellan and Johnston are facing off here along the peninsula, but Curtis is like rampaging up in the northern Virginia, and there's not much I can do about it. If I go up and deal with Curtis, McClellan can come out and hit Richmond. So I kind of have to give up most of Virginia, northern Virginia, in order to keep McClellan stuck where he is. A lot of new leaders coming in here. Stuart's got his promotion. Hancock, Logan, for whatever that's worth, Thomas, and Sherman's promotion. So we got a lot of interesting stuff going on next turn. I'll load this one up. What is it? Looks like July of 62. Guess that's about it. I gotta move that sucker across. Those are victory points. Right now we're at 21. The Union's at 34. Which means if Washington were to fall, it would be a Confederate victory immediately. Although that really does mean, in terms of the game, the 20 points or whatever, that will be enough to end it. Alright, up it goes.